The midterms. Much like any trip to IKEA, they're lasting way longer than expected. It took until last night for Arizona to declare Democrat Kyrsten Sinema the winner of the Senate race there. In Georgia, they're still trying to figure out who won the governor's race. And in Alabama, Roy Moore was only this morning declared Jefferson High's freshman class president. So congratulations to Roy Moore. But the real post-election day drama is happening, as always, in Florida. The Florida of states. Both the Senate and the governor's races are too close to call, and the Republicans there aren't handling the stress well.
Republicans from the president on down are now united in their attempt to stop counting votes in Florida's Senate and gubernatorial elections before the final tally.
I will not sit idly by while unethical liberals try to steal this election.
Donald Trump today echoing the baseless claims of Florida Governor and Senate candidate Rick Scott, who accused election staff in Broward County with no evidence of fraud.
President Trump tweeting today, an honest vote count is no longer possible. Ballots massively infected. Must go with election night.
But if Trump is saying this about an election that he's not a part of, imagine if he loses in 2020. Like, he's going to be holed up in the Oval Office like Scarface. He'll be sitting behind the desk with a couple of Uzis. Kellyanne Conway's going to be manning the machine guns. Don Jr. standing next to them with an unpinned grenade. I took this out. I'm so strong. And now the truth is, Trump and Scott are lying. Nobody's stealing the election. But that doesn't mean that Florida doesn't have big issues with its voting. All over Florida, the elections have been a cluster, and everyone is contributing to it, starting with Brenda Snipes. Right? She's the election commissioner in Broward County, who has been doing a great job of screwing up people's votes.
Dr. Brenda Snipes is feeling heat from all sides. Her office sent out this sample ballot, which looks nothing like the actual ballot. And the actual ballot had the U.S. Senate race tucked under the instructions on the left side, which could be why roughly 25,000 voters left that pivotal race blank.
She counted 22 provisional ballots that had already been rejected.
Have there been mistakes?
There have been issues that did not go the way we wanted.
That was the pause of a woman who was mentally growing through a thesaurus to try and find a word for mistake that wouldn't get her fired. There have been blunders, gaffes, faux pas. Let's call it a boo-boo, an electoral boo-boo. But yes, thanks to Brenda Snipes and her weird ballot design, 25,000 voters didn't even notice the Florida Senate race on their ballots. And remember, the margin in this race is currently sitting at 12,000 votes. So this would have changed it. So Brenda's screw-up has definitely affected Florida's Senate results. But I will say this, even if the Senate ballot was in a weird place on the form, how as a voter are you leaving that voting booth without voting for the main thing? Like, what kind of person doesn't check their voting form? When I go to Olive Garden, I flip over the menu just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Just be like, oh yeah, and the breadsticks also. The Senate race was the most important race, and yet thousands of people went in, voted for everything else. They're like, yeah, agricultural minister, yeah. And then they just left out Senate? Really? I mean, I sort of understand, because like one time my grandfather, he sent me to the pharmacy to get his insulin, and then I came back with shampoo, gum, and People magazine. And then he was like, where's my insulin? And I was like, I forgot the most important thing. And then he died, and we laughed. It's a joke. He didn't die because of that. That was just a joke. He died for other reasons. It was the shampoo. He was allergic. And the thing is, it's not just the Democrats in South Florida that are messing up. It's the entire state, including the Republicans.
New tonight reports that about 150 Panhandle residents, hurricane victims, voted by email, which is illegal.
The county's supervisor elections telling NBC News anyone who challenges the use of email ought to be ashamed to take votes away from people who went through this disaster.
Okay, now look, I sympathize with people who were displaced by the hurricane, but that doesn't mean one guy can just make up new ways to vote. I mean, where do we draw the line? What if someone says, hey, I was also out of town from the hurricane, but I left a thumbs up emoji on Instagram? That counts, right? That counts.